Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So the results are out. NVDA earnings have been disclosed and now the market is aware. So in today's session, we're pretty much just going to go over peer charts, peer premiums, over our weekly prediction. Now, the great thing for you guys that are watching today is that if you guys watch the entire video, I'm going to be sharing a lot of insights on the key projections on where the stocks can go depending on certain circumstances, and I'm going to be talking a lot about the news here. Okay, so today's video is going to be very important because all my predictions and levels have been very accurate and have been providing a good understanding of what a stock can do for option traders. So as an option trader, you want to look for those moments where there's a fast price spike or price drop, and that gives you the leverage to gain a lot of momentum and gains on your option premiums. So pretty much that's going to be the key thing to know. Now I'm going to first talk about the details about today. Okay, the details about how we set up our day are going to be crucial for you guys to understand exactly how my model works and the details behind it. So every morning I give my gamma report 8 a.m. We talked about the market scenario. Okay, we mentioned that in order for the upside to be strong, we would have to see SPX above 5650, and if it does happen, then we will probably see 5680. Okay, if that level breaks. The put gamma is showing a lot of chop, and I mentioned here the behavior that pretty much you're going to see a lot of rug pulls, a lot of chop around this area as well. I also noted that SPX under 5600, you're likely to see 5570. Okay, so that's going to be very important here. Now, besides these ranges, so these are based off gamma levels that you see here, based on these two curves. So as you guys can see over here, you see that the lowest probability for today was around 5570. I'm not sure if you can see it here, but that's pretty much where our bottom here as well. Okay, so I communicated all of that information, and I always summarize it with the final predictions. That based on the gamma, it looks like we might see chop here, and if SPX is under 5650, we probably see it's above it. We could probably see above all-time highs. Edge to the upside if we could stay above 5600, 5590. Well, we didn't stay above, so the edge is to the downside. Okay, so that's pretty much what you want to know here. These are all my levels. Okay, so the first level upside 5653, that's level 1 bullish, which is a gatekeeper that pretty much keeps the market back. Now our first level 1 bearish is 5600, and the next level 2 bearish, so this is a gatekeeping level. The next level 2 bearish is 5565. Okay, this level here confirms the downside trend, so you are well aware of that. You can see that there's a big difference in those levels, as you can see, and usually when this level hits, you will see a strong support pop back to level 1. So likely what always tends to happen is you hit this number, you pop back here, but you always trend back down. Okay, that's pretty much what you need to remember. Level 3 is where you pretty much see a bottom, and usually it's a spike. That's a strong support if you hit this zone. And level 4 is an extension. Like usually this only happens if, let's say, during the middle of the day we get news that is terrifying, and it wasn't really priced in the market, but this new additional news is what's causing the additional drop. Okay, so even though I mentioned here on the gamma report lowest range we see is 5570, I did have my level 2 bearish here that tells me that. So this is based off gammas. This is based off how option premiums are priced. Okay, big difference. Now what you guys see right over here, when I give my estimated weekly lows and highs, that's purely based off the gamma levels, right? What the gammas are saying. The levels I provide over here, for example, are based off the option premiums. So if I see the premiums priced at, let's say, the LRCX 880 calls on Friday close was at, let's say, $5, that's how I know it's priced in as an inflection point. Okay, so I have my own proprietary model on calculating that I do not share, but I always help my members figure out what the key inflection points are moving forward. Okay, let's go over today's trades. Okay, so we had an amazing day today. Pretty much we got SMCI puts right off the open, based off the news that they delayed their 10K filing. We knew that it was going to dump right away because last time what had happened was that when the accounting allegations of fraud came out by Hindenburg Research, we didn't buy puts right off the bat here because it's new, fresh news, and it dumped 10% and then it climbed back up. Now you get another following negative news, and we pretty much knew that was going to dump nonstop. So that's 1,000% winner for people that held it. I sold it pretty quick because I wanted to take my profits. I sold it when it dropped like around 50 points. I was happy with the double, so I took it. SMCI puts went up. We got SPX puts. Many people did take those. We tried to get into MSTR puts. We couldn't get the fill. We got our first initial SPX put, which was a 55.95, which was a nice win here as well. For small accounts, we gave SPY. Okay, so we gave SPY accounts, SPY puts, 556 puts that would have filled at 50 cents. Those went to $2, so that was a nice play for that. And we gave this as well too. We bought the 5575, and then that was a nice play. Got a double off that, and we took. At the end of the day, we decided to take some QQQ calls, but I mentioned that expect it to go to zero. So I'm already up for the month, and I took a lot of play idea. The last trade was a QQQ call, which did go up 30%. We bought, and it was a nice one. So this one still has time. It still has a opportunity to go, but it all comes down to what happens tomorrow. Okay, so let's talk about what happened, the details for today. Okay, so we had NVDA earnings, we had CrowdStrike earnings, and we had Salesforce earnings, right? And you can see all the numbers shift there. We had Salesforce earnings, we had HPQ earnings as well, and we had AFRM earnings. Okay, so clearly AFRM was the biggest beneficiary, biggest winner of today's market, and that purely had to do with the lower rate guidance. So they're doing very well, and this is ripping. Not really moving UPST much. UPST normally tends to move with the firm, but it's only up. It was up 2% earlier, but when the market got weak, started to drop. Okay, so I'm just gonna quickly go through some of the earnings, and then we're gonna talk about NVIDIA. Okay, so CrowdStrike, they did, pretty decent here, but their guide was horrible. So very bad guide on Crowd, and we kind of figured that would happen because of the fraud allegations. Sorry, not the fraud allegations. The details with regards to the lawsuit. Okay, so they pretty much had problems with that. They did beat revenue and EPS estimates. It was up earlier, but during the call, the CEO pretty much gave not a clear answer in terms of how much risk is involved with the lawsuits due to negligence, but it's quite significant, and that's when it started to really drop here. Okay, so based on my analysis here, I pretty much priced in on CrowdStrike that the estimated weekly low is at 240 and estimated weekly high is at 305. Okay, so currently it's at 250 here, and I like to see I like the 245 puts here, because the IV flush is gonna pretty much make it cheap. So that's a trade idea number one for tomorrow, is getting the CrowdStrike puts. It's under its 200-day moving average. So what I'm looking to do is wait for a little bit of pop where it retests that, and then boom, we'll get the 245 puts when it gets a little bit cheap after the pop happens. Okay, so that's one play that we're watching as well. NOW looks like it might get to 800 based off Salesforce earnings. So let's see if it gets out of this chop range that we're watching here as a result. And finally, I want to talk about UPST. And as for UPST, AFRM, pretty much solid details here. I would probably, if I buy calls for tomorrow, I'll probably add a week and make sure I get the 45s. Okay, so that's what we're going to be watching for 45 AFRM, UPST. Usually when a firm rips on earnings, it normally tends to dump as well. So we're just going to be watching that. Okay, and finally, I want to talk about NVIDIA here. Okay, so NVIDIA, we do have calls. They're probably going to go to shit. Most likely, I don't see how this is going to recover. But that's totally fine, right? Because as long as you understand the risks of playing with earnings, you're totally fine. So I do have AMD puts on the other hand as a hedge, and they're already in the money, so those will at least help. But NVIDIA here. So let's talk about the pros and cons, okay? The pro here is that Jensen said a lot of good things. You know, he normally gives the same spiel about, you know, generative AI, their data centers, and so forth. But you know, overall, the con here is that NVIDIA is pretty much giving the same level of gains continuously, okay? Whatever analyst expectations give, they always beat by 2 billion. And that's a con, okay? Because we need to see exponential growth in order for this to go. Yes, and that's the reason why it's down, okay? The second thing here is that we haven't seen a major improvement. Now, listen to care, major improvement. The margins are still great at 70%, but if they had major improvements on the margins, you could probably see that do a lot better. And finally, what the market also cared about was a Blackwell. So that detail wasn't really explained properly when I was listening to that. They pretty much gave a very vague answer. Okay, so based on where NVIDIA is, you can see right over here on my model, this was at the estimated weekly low. And for everyone that doesn't understand about these numbers are given before the week even starts. I show it all the time in my videos, right? So these numbers are all timestamped. I won't get into it now, but pretty much NVIDIA is at a breaking point here, okay? What I'm looking to see here for NVIDIA here is do they buy at this 116, 115 mark? Okay, very strong support around here. Now, likely what happens here, I think we probably open around these numbers and you probably see a little bit of a pop. But if NVIDIA can pop towards 123 and break through this 123, then it has a chance at going through 135, okay? So just be aware of that, okay? Because that's very possible. But on the other hand, for NVIDIA, if you cannot break through this 116, then it can dump to 109, and that will be a great put opportunity. Okay, so you really got to watch the action. Most likely you're probably going to see a test to 118, but if it can't get through 118, then most likely you're going to see a retest down here and you're going to buy puts, okay? And that would be a great play. If it does get through 118, I wouldn't play calls till it gets through 123, and I would, you know, try to add a week, because the thing here is that you got core PC on Friday, and next week's a short week, okay? So I don't see NVIDIA going beyond 135 this week. So that's pretty much, 134 is what I'm looking at, okay? So that's my interpretation of that. Now, AMD, I have a strong feeling that regardless of how if NVIDIA does rebound and does look good, I still think that this stock may really dump. Okay, it's at 140 at the estimated weekly low. What I have, but it's very possible it could go to 132. Okay, so if we see this break here, it can really drop to this huge number here. That's how the gamma is priced. That's how pretty much the premiums are priced as well. So we're still holding those puts, and they're going to open nicely tomorrow. Broadcom, you know, we're looking to see if it can hold this 150. If not, you can probably see a new low around these ranges here. Okay. The market is seeing a lot of these stocks hit my estimated weekly lows, and that's going to be a problem for a lot of traders, okay? Where they're going to keep buying calls, but or keep buying puts, but you know, you have to be very cautious on how you price it. When it comes to buying puts, you know, you don't want to overpay for those puts, because puts move very fast. So it can, you know, pretty much dump really fast, and then it would jump back up. That would crush your premiums, and while you're waiting for it to go down, it pretty much just, you know, screws you over, right? So that's the thing about puts. You really have to be careful about how you price them when you enter them, okay? One index that I recommend that you guys watch is the SMH, because this here will be a good one to understand how the overall semiconductor space as it goes along, okay? The one final stock that does look like a great shorting opportunity is LRCX here. Especially looks like it can go to around 769 here moving forward, okay? So based on this information, I hope you guys get a context of what's going on and how you can leverage into tomorrow. Based on my model here, SPX estimated weekly lows at 555. So we're watching to see if that can break. If it does, then my absolute bottom is around 54.65. I don't think that comes until core PCE hits, but you know, this is probably the main numbers I'm looking at. This 555 is very tough, and you got this 200-day moving average around my level 3 bearish, which is also a very strong support heading into the core PCE report. So that's all I got for you guys right now. Hope you guys enjoyed this call here and got a lot of information. But I'll see you guys in the chat, and like always, let's get that money.